Okay, so if you've watched the previous videos on graphing the sine and the cosine, and you got those down, adding skills for doing the secant and the cosecant are a piece of cake. And what I would highly recommend is that if you're graphing a secant, you know, and it's y equals 3 secant x plus something like this, what I would do is just pretend for the moment that it's a cosine. Easy enough to do, and now essentially you are graphing the cosine function. Okay, and you're doing everything you can, all those skills that you learned to graph a cosine function, you've got it. And you can go ahead and however this is going to have some kind of like a phase shift, it's going to be shifted back pi over 2, and that's all fine, but in the end you're going to have a cosine. And it's probably going to start back here, end out here. Okay, that was pretty ugly, but we're going to go with it. And what I want you to concentrate on is these points where the original secant is 0. Okay, ignore the phase shift where it actually crosses. Watch where it actually crosses your new center line. So if your new center line is here, note these points, okay? Because those points become the tangent lines. And you just draw in those tangent lines. Okay, you got your cosine function here. Maybe you drew a couple different, you know, maybe you extended it out a little bit. Okay, but everywhere it crosses, you mark these. And everywhere it crosses that center line, that becomes a tangent line. Everywhere your function makes a peak up here and here, essentially makes the opposite for the secant. So what you want to do now is in between these tangent lines, you're just going to draw a curve that comes down, goes through there, and then goes back up. Comes up, goes through that curve. Oh, that was awful. Let's try again. There we go. And again here. And again here. And so once you're done, you can maybe lightly erase your cosine curve, your original cosine curve, and just pretend that never happened, and all of a sudden you'll have all the markings, you'll have all the critical points and all the critical asymptotes already figured out for the secant. So, I mean, the cosine, it basically tells you what to do for the secant. Every time that the cosine is 0, you get to divide by 0 error, and it causes these asymptotes because that's what secant is. It's just 1 over cosine. Here, you know, exactly, just take this, graph it as though it's a sine function. Boom, boom. However it shifts or changes, just treat it like a sine function. Do everything you did in the previous videos to graph this thing. And you just draw this fantastic sine function. And when you're done, just make asymptotes out of every 0. Make a vertex out of every peak. And again, just drawing these kind of inverse. They're really not parabolas. But since I can't draw a parabola anyway, I can get them close enough doing that. That's how I suggest you deal with these secants and the cosecants. It's just going to make it really easy to get the graph, find all the points, and make that work for you. So don't let the secants and the cosecants throw you. Master the sine and the cosine. Get those graphs down, and once you've mastered the sine and the cosine, the secant and the cosecant, that'll just be a piece of cake.